So I've got some quick thoughts on the season finale. I'm going to do a longer review with a buddy of mine who's a super fan that is going to be on my YouTube for sure, so stay tuned for that. I feel like this series has always had good season finales. However, it did take about 38 minutes for me to really get intrigued with this episode. I thought it moved really slow at first. Once we got to the scene with Aegon and Aemond, it did start to pick up, and I thought that was a really well done scene. I felt the layers of depth between the two brothers. I felt their confliction. I feel like it played out in an unexpected and interesting way, and I really like those two actors, and I just think they have good chemistry. Then the battle didn't start until finally like the 50-minute mark, but when it did start, it got really good really quickly. And it's a great example of when this show is working. It's almost as good as anything in Game of Thrones. Overall, Game of Thrones is still a much better show, but that's a really high bar, and that's not meant to be a slight towards House of the Dragon. There were several interesting things about the battle. I hated how the Hightowers were such cowards and put children in front of the gate. I mean, it was interesting for sure. I was not expecting anything like that, and I'm glad the kids got out the hell out of the way. It made me glad that they got what was coming to him, especially Ormond. He really got what was coming to him, that's for sure. Also, a quick note about the kids getting in front of the gate. Just prior to that, the old dude with the axe hit that kid in the face. It was startling when the kid got hit, but it made me think, okay, kids are not safe here. So it made me believe that they were actually going to get burned. So I'm glad they didn't, of course. It's a good example of subverting my expectation. But in hindsight, I wish we had spent a little bit more time with these new dragon riders. I don't even really remember their names, and that's part of the point. They end up having a really big part to play in this battle. They pretty much decide the battle, and I wanted to feel the emotional weight of the one who lost his wife. I wanted to know more about the one who was drunk in the outhouse. In the end, they kind of felt a little bit like a Deus Ex Machina. It felt like a little bit too much power to give people that we hardly knew. It still worked. It was still a great battle. Overall, I enjoyed all of it other than this one little piece. But since they had such a big part to play in determining the way that the battle went, I wish they would have been bigger characters. And then in the end, of course, that was a really sad ending with Helena. I completely understand her being pressed and desperate, and I understand she's been a troubled character maybe her entire life, but for some reason there's something about it that doesn't sit well with me. I mean, other than the obvious, but her being pregnant and her really only trying to escape maybe once or twice, I just felt it was a bit of a stretch to end her character that way. I don't think it's just because she was pregnant. That is a good reason to not do what she did, but maybe because it was, I believe, Aegon's baby, right? Maybe that is a good enough reason. I don't know, but I think there's got to be more to her character and more to her relationship with Aegon and what was maybe expected of her and what she was seeing in her prophecies. Maybe I'm missing something, but it felt a little inauthentic, so I'm curious if anybody knows more about that. I would love to hear it. In the end, I think it was a good season. I don't think it was a great season, but I do think this was an all-time great battle for me. And again, I'm going to be doing a much longer review with a buddy of mine who's a super fan. We are going to break down the entire season, the whole series. We're going to talk about how it compares to Game of Thrones, as well as A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So follow me on YouTube for that. Thank you for watching.